Was the Gen 12 renderer worth the wait? It's here, we've got 318 live finally, and we can test. Now, we did test this in the PTU a while back, but things have slightly changed, so this is actually quite interesting, so let's get into it. To get you up to speed, if you didn't watch that PTU video, you can now change which renderer the game will use. So by default, when you load in 318, it will use the Gen 12 renderer, the full 318 Gen 12 renderer. But you can go into the console and change it to the 317 static geometry with Gen 12 kind of hybrid. And also you can change it to the pre-317, the legacy renderer. And so you can go into a scene and directly change and test on the same server, basically back to back. So it's actually really good testing. And when we did this on the PTU, we found that the Gen 12 render itself was faster, but it didn't really have much impact on the overall frame rate. Now, what's changed with live is that we've got all the debugging code is now not running. So on the PTU, CIG are trying to get as much information as they can, so they've got a load of code running that isn't on the live build. So now we have a cleaner build, which should give us a better picture of actually what's going on. So let's get into that. Let's start with my main system, which has now got a 7950X3D and a 4080 in. We're at 1080p though here, just to test, because we just want to make sure we're testing the CPU, not the GPU. And you'll see a jump in render thread performance. This is what we saw in the PTU. The render thread gets better as you move to the newer Gen 12 renderer. But also, we're now seeing, which we didn't see in the PTU, we're now seeing an actual increase in FPS. And this, I wasn't really expecting this. Now this is just a particular scene where the renderer is under pretty heavy load, and actually when I tested the whole of Lorville, I didn't really see any difference. There's no performance. So I imagine this is only in certain scenarios, but in this particular case here, we are actually seeing an FPS improvement. Now, I'm not exactly sure why that would be. The Gen 12 renderer is supposedly lighter to run. It's not as kind of bloated in terms of the code, and should be more efficient. But I'm not. Maybe Sylvan will, the developer who's done so much work on this, will come below and explain why this is going on. Maybe in the comments. But yeah, it's really good to see, and I wasn't expecting to see this. From the PTU, we didn't see this. Now in live, we're actually seeing a repeatable, I've done this multiple times, repeatable improvement in FPS in certain areas. Let's now move on to Horizon. So this is again with the main system, the 7950X3D. We are seeing again the same thing. The render itself, the render thread is faster, but also the FPS is improved with each renderer. So the full Gen 12 renderer is genuinely faster than what we had before, and we're seeing more frames. Let's look at the minimum spec system now, which got an i5-8400 in, which is really struggling, I think, in 318. Might need to replace that as my minimum spec CPU. And it's got a GTX 1660, which is totally fine at 1080p. It's all on the CPU in this test. In Lorville, new deal again. You'll see again as you go through each renderer, the 318 renderer is faster for the render thread, and the FPS is slightly better. The numbers overall are just down, but you can see a small amount of scaling as you go up to the 318 renderer, the full Gen 12 renderer. In Horizon though, there's no real difference in the FPS. It may just be because the main thread is being absolutely hammered in Horizon. But the render thread again, you can see improves even under this really, really tough test. I mean, 16 FPS is not playable here. And so yeah, we're gonna have to replace this CPU as the minimum. So, was the Gen 12 renderer worth the wait? Yes, is the answer. And I think for two particular reasons. Obviously, the first is we have better performance, and I wasn't expecting that based on what I'd seen in the PTU, but now in live, we're actually seeing in certain scenarios better FPS. So that's great. We should never complain when Star Citizen gets faster, even if it is only by a few frames. I think that really is how we should expect the game to go in the future, is that we'll have small optimizations and they'll add up to large optimizations. I think again, set your expectations for Vulkan when that comes in. We're not going to be expecting 50 FPS more. Hopefully we'll just get small increases until this game finally becomes quite playable on standard hardware. So it got better, the performance got better, that's number one. Number two, the Gen 12 renderer has effectively removed the render problem that this game had. For so long, the render thread was a real bottleneck for so many people with whatever hardware you had, really. Even if you had incredibly quick CPU, at various points in the game, the renderer would really hold you back. And so CIG have effectively removed that issue. And what that means is that as they optimize the rest of the game, as they work on the main thread, which is the main problem I think at this stage now in terms of our performance, they basically don't have to worry about the render thread getting in the way of those optimizations. I'm very happy that it's in. I'm very happy that it's actually brought more performance, and I'm looking forward to what they can do as they optimize it more, because they actually didn't get to optimize it as much as they were hoping to in this kind of 3.18 release, and they were working on other things. So we may see more performance coming from it in the future. So great work, CIG. Thank you for the many hours for many developers that have gone into this. And yeah, if you like this sort of look at Star Citizen performance wise, subscribe. Like if you want to support with money, because I spend lots of money on buying parts, feel free to become a member and join the Discord and come and chat about all this stuff. And we'll see you soon. Bye.